Welcome, everyone, to the ABN Sports Report, April 1st, 2022, episode 2. A lot to talk about, despite it being the offseason for most American sports here. A recap of things to come here. We're going to be talking about the World Cup qualifying. The stage is set for the 48-team World Cup starting in June. The final 6 spots cleared up here over the last few days. We'll talk about that. We'll dive into that. Motorsports all over the place as well. NASCAR at Martinsville, F1 at Suzuka, IndyCar at Barber, and more. Basketball, March Madness. We are down to the Final Four, as well as getting closer to the NBA playoffs. You heard the Discord trying to pop in. Eli Sasek is jumping on board. Nick Pressey should be in a second to get us underway here on the Sports Report. Baseball opening week in the books for Major League Baseball. How is everyone looking 1 week in to the season? We'll see how that goes here. Hockey, obviously, NHL playoffs also getting closer here to the Stanley Cup playoffs as well. And then, not on the graphic here on the side of your screen if you're watching on YouTube, but we'll also talk about the United Football League's opening weekend as well. And obviously, the draft getting closer. We'll talk about that further on into the month. But we'll kick off with the most pertinent piece of information at the moment, and that is FIFA World Cup qualifying in the books. We now know the 48-team World Cup field for this June's World Cup in North America. 6 spots going in. We talked about it last week. 6 spots were up for grabs through qualifying, through UEFA playoffs, and the Intercontinental playoffs. All of those were done on the opening round on the 26th, which would have been Thursday, and yesterday, March 31st. And it was a head turner. Let's go ahead and start. We'll start top to bottom here with UEFA Pathway A. This is the group that would fill out the group with Canada in it in the World Cup. The 4 teams in this pathway were Wales, Bosnia, Italy, and Northern Ireland. First round took place on March 26th. Wales hosted Bosnia in Cardiff. It was a 1-1 draw after 2 hours. They had to go to penalties, which Bosnia won 4-2. Italy made easy work there of Northern Ireland, as they were expected to. It was a pair of second-half goals to put Italy into the final. They would have to travel to Zenica over in Bosnia. And yesterday afternoon, that game was played, and Bosnia moves on to its second ever World Cup, first since 2014. Italy, the 4-time World Cup champions, missing out on their 3rd straight World Cup. And I'm going to fire my hot take. Italy, go fuck yourself. Legitimately, the conversation point going into or coming out of the game in Bosnia yesterday was, oh, there's too many teams in the World Cup. There's too many teams from Africa. There's too many teams from CONCACAF. There's too many teams from CONMEBOL. There's too many teams from Asia and Oceania. No, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. You cannot point at Haiti. You cannot point at Curacao and say they don't deserve to be in the World Cup when Europe has 33% of the field. There are more European entries for the World Cup than there has ever been. And you can't clean up Bosnia? You can't avoid getting a red card in the first half after leading in Zenica? After you laughed about the fact that Bosnia beat Wales in penalties on Thursday. Also, pointing at Haiti as if Italy, last time they played, couldn't beat them. Haiti, who has not had a home game in 15 years. Last time Italy played them at home, they choked a 2-0 lead and drew to Haiti. What the fuck are you talking about, Italy? If you can't beat Bosnia, if you can't handle a country of less than 3 million people on the shoulders of Edin Dzeko, who might have blown his shoulder out in that game yesterday, if you can't handle them, you don't deserve to go to the World Cup. You can join Croatia. You can join Serbia. You can join we'll talk further down the order. You can join Poland. You can join North Macedonia. You get to join all these different countries on the sidelines because the fact of the matter is just that Italy fucking sucks. Congratulations. You have played yourself. You were the first World Cup winning nation to fail to qualify for 3 World Cup in a row. That is comical. Do not sit here and talk about, well, there's too many teams that are lower ranked that get in and Italy doesn't get in. Oh yeah, sure. There's 16 spots up for grabs. And the fact is, Italy failed to do so. Largest World Cup in history, we would have thought, would have made it easier for Italy to get in. No, they choked to Bosnia. Bosnia drew the game in the second half, forced it into penalties where they were once again electric, 4-1 on penalties. Italy shanked 2 penalties and put themselves in the hole. And it was an American-born player that got to go and send Bosnia to its second ever World Cup. And it is just electric. Esmir Bajradorevic, sorry, is the one that sent Bosnia through to the World Cup. And it has just been nonsense ever since of like, oh, Italy deserves to be in the World Cup over Curacao and Haiti and all these different countries. No, they don't. No, they don't. Like, you had a chance and you blew it. You suck. So, Italy, go fuck yourself on that one. Bosnia goes in for the first time since 2014. They are celebrating still, as they should. This is a country that was formed in a war. This is a country that went through genocide in 1995 in Srebrenica, and they have earned it. They are the only Balkan country in the World Cup over Slovenia, over Serbia, over Croatia. Kosovo misses out on the they miss out to Turkey. We'll talk about that in a second because they almost made their first ever World Cup.
Croatia is in, by the way.
Croatia is in? Okay. I never see them on my table, so let me see where they at.
They're in Group L with England, Ghana, and Panama.
Gotcha. They're in. Okay, so I had that wrong. So Croatia is in. They automatically got in. They're in Group L is why I missed them. I'm not used to the 12 groups. All right, so Croatia. So it's Croatia and Bosnia. That's it.
Don't usually look down that far.
Don't normally have to. This again, largest World Cup in history. Like, you mean to tell me Italy is better right now than Czechia? They're obviously Bosnia is better, but like, you had a chance to get in over Scotland. You had a chance to get in over Turkey. You had a chance to beat fucking the Netherlands to get in. You had a chance to beat Belgium to get in. You had a chance to really stretch your legs and beat Norway. Norway automatically qualified in. Sorry, Italy, you just suck. You just suck, and it's a shame. So don't go around blaming Haiti and qualifying when you had extra opportunity and still failed. And by the way, 4 years ago, when they were once again in this position and they lost 4-0 to North Macedonia. That is a team that is in the lower half of the international rankings. They are triple digits on the ranking scale. They are next to Haiti and Curacao. And they got spanked by North Macedonia 4-0 in 2022 and got eliminated from World Cup qualifying then. So this is not new. Italy is the Pittsburgh Steelers of Europe. They play down their competition, and then they're surprised when they get thumped. They got thumped. That's my rant. It's just with Italian fans. Italian fans, seriously, go fuck yourself as hard as you can. You are a baseball nation now. Get used to it. Pathway B, a lot more calm, a lot more put together, a lot more exciting, all things considered. Ukraine hosted Sweden on Thursday in Valencia because Ukraine can't have home games because fuck Russia. Sweden did what they needed to do, though. Won 3-1 over in Valencia to knock Ukraine out. The Cinderella story comes to an end there for the Ukrainians, unfortunately, but they made it this far despite not being able to play home games for the last 4 years. Props to them. Poland beats Albania. Albania has never been to the World Cup. They will continue to wait. Poland, they are far from their golden generation, but they put themselves in the conversation on Thursday. Yesterday, though, it was a thriller. 5 goals in the game. Ultimately, Sweden's the one that outlasts Poland in that sequence. But it's a wonderful game. Sweden took the lead. Poland equalized in the 33rd minute. Sweden grabbed the 2-1 lead right before the end of the first half. Poland, right out of the gates, went ahead and equalized it. It took until the 88th minute. Victor Gyökeres grabbed the game winner in the 88th minute. That game was played in Sweden. They were all over the place. They were jumping as they should. Really fun game. Not the most fun game of the UEFA play-in games, but up there. It is a really good game, and that was played yesterday. The most fun game was in Pathway C. Thursday, it was Slovakia and Kosovo. First round in this Pathway C on Thursday. Kosovo had to travel to Bratislava. Slovakia has never been to the World Cup since the separation of Czechia and Slovakia. Kosovo, 15 years ago, did not have a national team. They had just gotten independence in 2008. It is still a debated topic in Kosovo because Serbia's a bunch of fucking cunts. But Kosovo, almost doing the Curacao route, because Curacao also had its national team formed in 2011. Kosovo beats Slovakia in Bratislava 4-3 in a 7-goal shootout. And I said it last week. Kosovo was going to be a threat because they can either lock down or they can go into a shootout. They are versatile, and that their team is so youthful. They are entering what could be a golden generation right now. It is magical. I cannot wait to see them try again in 2030. I want to see if they can go into the Euros and do something special there. So they got to host Turkey. Turkey didn't do anything flashy in this qualifying. They didn't need to. It was a 1-0 win at home over Romania. They had to travel to Pristina, and Turkey just did what they had to do. It was a 1-0 win. It was locked down in the first half, very even pacing there. Turkey grabbed the lead at 53rd minute, and they just never let it go. Kosovo couldn't break down Turkey's defense. They parked the bus. Turkey will complete the group with the United States. It'll be United States, Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey in Group D. Either team was going to be a problem for the U.S. Personally, some people think that Turkey's going to be a problem. I think Kosovo was the bigger problem, and the U.S. has dodged a bullet. I think they can handle Turkey. Pathway D. This is what filled out the group with Mexico, South Africa, and South Korea. Czechia hosted Ireland on Thursday in Prague. That went to penalties. It was a 2-2 draw after 2 hours. It went to penalties, and it was 4-3 in favor of Czechia. So they would go on, and they would also host the winner of North Macedonia. Denmark put belt to ass in North Macedonia as they needed to 4-0 in Copenhagen. They would travel to Prague, where they would fall again in penalties. It was another 2-2 draw after 2 hours in Prague between Czechia and Denmark. Denmark did the Italian thing. They shanked a couple of really bad penalties, and Czechia wins 3-1 to move on to the World Cup. They will now complete the group with Mexico, South Africa, and South Korea, and they will be playing all those group matches in Mexico. So get used to high altitude. So a lot of fun stuff there. Victor Gyökeres was the golden boot of the qualifying play-in games. He scored 4 goals for Sweden in the 2 matches he played in this round. Sweden is going to be a problem. It's going to be very fun to see how that plays out. In Sweden, they are in Group F in the World Cup. So that is the group that has the Netherlands, Japan, and Tunisia in it. We also had the Intercontinental Playoffs as well. So this is a pretty big deal. Give me 1 second to try to go through this. Hold on. I need the pathways. Thank you. Okay, cool. So the Intercontinental Playoff, there's 2 spots in the Intercontinental Playoff. These are non-European places: Africa, Asia, Oceania. South America and CONCACAF can all get in through here. In fact, it was for Pathway 1, it was Jamaica versus New Caledonia. DR Congo had the best record of the 3 teams in this group, so they had a bye. Both these games are played in Mexico. They were played in Zapopan at the Estadio Akron, which is a pretty big stadium that was almost sold out for both of these games, too. So Mexico is ready for the World Cup. Jamaica beat New Caledonia 1-0. These are neutral site games. Jamaica would go on to face the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and this was scoreless through the first 90 minutes. They needed extra time. DR Congo would grab the winning goal. Tuanzebe with the goal in the 100th minute to win in extra time 1-0. They go into the World Cup in Group K, which, if you're wondering, that is the group of Portugal, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. And DR Congo is not the worst team in that group. So that'll be fun to see how DR Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia fight. Portugal should be the winner of that group. They still have Ronaldo, and they do have a better league system than the other three countries combined. But, however, Portugal has never won the World Cup. So if they choke in the group stage, it'll be a dogfight. And yeah, that'll be fun to watch in Group K. DR Congo, I think, has a really good chance to get second. I think they are a little bit better than Colombia. And they're definitely better than Uzbekistan, who somehow still beat Italy to get to the World Cup. But we'll see how that group goes. But DR Congo is in for the first time in 52 years. Pathway 2. You had Bolivia and Suriname in the first play-in game to face Iraq. Iraq was the best team from Asia that had not already qualified in. They had a better record. They had the bye. Bolivia and Suriname. This was South America versus North America. Suriname's dream of making its first ever World Cup comes to a close 2-1 in favor of Bolivia. This was in Guadalupe. Bolivia was behind in this game. Suriname struck first, just out of the halftime break, scored in the 48th minute. It took Bolivia scoring twice in 7 minutes to grab the lead, and they would not let it go from that. Their second goal that put them ahead was Terceros with a penalty in the 79th minute, and it just worked out from there. However, it would be all for naught. They would not be able to beat Iraq. Iraq would score first in the 10th minute with Al Hamadi. Peniagua would score in the 38th minute to equalize. And then just out of the halftime break, Ayman Hussein would score the 53rd minute goal to give Iraq its first World Cup berth in over 40 years. So a lot of fun stuff here as well. Iraq goes into the Group I bracket with France, Senegal, and Norway. Unfortunately, I think that is the group of death for Iraq. I think that they are going to get absolutely thumped. If they can steal points from Senegal, that would, I think, be a win for them. If they can just grab a draw, I think that'd be a successful endeavor for them here. So Group A, we now know all the groups are filled. Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and Czechia are in Group A. Group B is Canada, Bosnia, Qatar, and Switzerland. Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland are in Group C. The United States, Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey are in Group D. Important for all the host nations, Mexico, Canada, and the U.S., all of their group stage matches are in those countries. So Canada's hosting all of the Group B matches. All the Group A matches are in Mexico. All the Group D matches are in the United States. The other groups are sort of sorted throughout, whether it's being in the U.S., Canada, or Mexico. Obviously, once you get into the knockouts, most of them are going to be in the U.S., and obviously the finals in New York City or New Jersey, let's be real. But that's sort of how that all breaks down. Group E is where you'll find Germany, Curacao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. Curacao, thanks for playing. You are going winless. You are getting no points in that, but historic first moment for Curacao. 15 years ago, they did not have a national team. They are now in the World Cup, and they are, I think, gleefully ready to get thumped 11-0 by Germany in Group E in the group stage. Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, Tunisia are in Group F. That is a very competitive group. There's no standout leader there. I think you could say maybe the Netherlands or Japan. They have made the knockouts. They've gotten to the semifinals in recent memory. Japan's probably the favorite of that group. But I can see Sweden taking points, and I can see Tunisia taking points as well. Group G, you'll find Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. This is going to be an interesting group. This should be Belgium's to lose. The question is who's going to be second. The top two of each group automatically advance to the knockouts, as do the top 8 third-place teams of each group. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm not sure who I'd pick in that situation between Egypt, Iran, or New Zealand. None of them are on Belgium's level, but they are close to each other. So I don't know how that's going to play out. Egypt and Iran are going to be distracted. Their first game is their game against each other is in Seattle. It's a Pride Night game. There's already been a lot of media controversy around the fact that that's going to be a game played in Seattle on Pride Night, and they are objected to that. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to get anywhere with that, so they've got to somehow block out all the distractions. The team that does that the best will be probably victorious there in Seattle, and that is in Group G. Group H, Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay, just like with Curacao over in Group E. For Group H, Cape Verde, thanks for playing. You are getting thumped by everybody here. Uruguay, one of the best teams in South America. Spain, one of the top 3 teams in Europe right now. And Saudi Arabia is one of the best teams in Asia, unfortunately. Cape Verde is just, they're the CONCACAF team getting spanked in Group H. And that's going to be interesting because I look at Uruguay and Saudi Arabia. That's going to be a very close competition between those two for second. I think Spain can handle both of them. If they can't, then we've got a wide open group in Group H, and I can't wait to see if that plays out. Group I, France, Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. Again, I don't see Iraq really getting anywhere. If they can take a point from Senegal or Norway, that's a win. France were finalists in the last World Cup. They lost to Argentina. Largely expecting France to do the same thing. Their Ligue 1 is overall not a good league to be in. It is the PSG charity show every year. But there's a lot of French players that are not playing in Ligue 1. They're playing in La Liga. They're playing in the Premier League. They're playing elsewhere that give them that bolstered strength to continue to put together great national teams. And that should continue here. Group J, speaking of the defending World Cup champions, Argentina is in the group with Algeria, Austria, and Jordan. This is a battle for second place. Argentina, this is the last show for Lionel Messi. I think that they are going to throttle Group J. It's just a question of how Austria and Algeria do with Jordan in the mix. I think Austria should be second. I think Algeria should be third. Jordan will be fourth. I think is how that group sorts out. I think Algeria and Austria probably both get in to the knockout stage, just looking at how that's supposed to play out. Group K is where you'll find Portugal, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. We talked about this as well. DR Congo is not the worst team in this group. Them and Colombia will fight. Portugal, if they are in last World Cup cycles form, they're in 22 form, there's going to be problems in Group K, and it's not going to be fun for Portugal. Let me tell you. Group L, sorry, Panama, it is time for you to meet your maker. England, Croatia, and Ghana. One of the best teams in Africa and Ghana. You have the primordial fighters in Croatia, and then you have England, who are never going to win the World Cup, but they're going to get to the knockouts pretty easily. They're all going to beat up on Panama, and I feel so bad because Panama was so excited when they automatically qualified for the World Cup, and now they will be sent to the slaughter. And the World Cup begins on June 11th. Group A and Mexico will be the one that's kicking us off, so that'll be fun. Group B and Group D, so Canada, United States groups, they kick off on June 12th, and Group C joins in on on June 13th. Group E, Group F, they play on June 14th. Groups G and H play on 15th. I and H play on the 16th. K and L play on the 17th, and that kicks off the World Cup all the way through. So it'll be nonstop games all the way through into July, which will be fun. So I have ranted a little bit about Italy, made fun of Italy. Obviously, they did good in the World Baseball Classic because they're mostly just Americans with Italian heritage. But the actual genuine Italians suck at soccer now. So, Eli, do you have any thoughts on World Cup qualifying? Awesome. Great talk. Great conversation there.
My mic was muted. I did not really watch any of the qualifiers, but I didn't really pay attention to them either. I saw a few of the highlights and whatnot, but the U.S. played some friendlies. Didn't watch them, but they were not good.
Let's talk about that for a second, because there's one in particular controversy. It was the 5-2 thumping to Belgium. This is stupid. Why are both teams wearing their away kits? Why was that the case? That was approved
Well,
four different times.
U.S. wasn't wearing the American away kits though. Those were the homes.
That's garbage. I hate that so much. So
Their
both.
homes is it's the red and white stripes, and from far away it just looks plain white.
So the controversy is that both Belgium and the U.S. wore white jerseys in this friendly, in which Belgium put belt to ass on the U.S. In a 5-2 thrashing. This was approved. These jerseys are approved by both teams 4 times prior to the match. Did no one think, hey, actually, this might be a fucking problem for a second? Apparently not, because both teams thought, and the struggle is that both teams thought about changing their jerseys like at the halfway point, at the halftime, and elected not to. Why? Why do that? Why do that? Obviously, Belgium was victorious there. I don't think there was any conversation about whether or not Belgium would beat the United States. Of course, that's going to be the case. The United States is not a top 16 nation, like talent wise, as far as the national team goes. I think if we get to the round of 16, we have been extremely fortunate in the World Cup. We shouldn't be there.
I will say the Belgium away jersey would not give me the vibe that is white just looking at it like close up. It's the more of the visibility while like in action or far away that they both look very similar colors is the struggle.
Yeah, the issue I think is they doubled down because they both had the chance to switch to their alternate jerseys. They wouldn't have switched like their away jerseys or like they. There's 3 jerseys that each team has. There's their home and away, and then they have an alternate. The alternate's usually a darker color, like a black or a silver or like a dark gray color. They both had the option, and the referee signed off on it that if they wanted to change their jerseys mid half, they could. And they didn't. So I don't get it why. I don't know how much this affected the US's performance. Both countries complained about, wow, it's really hard to fucking see when everyone's wearing largely the same colors. Um, I don't think it helps. I think Belgium winning 5-2, I think if you give them an extra goal, maybe. But like the US is losing that game with Belgium. That is an iron sharpening iron type match. You want to put your team against a team you know is better to try to get them ready for the World Cup. Um, because they're not going to have a hard group stage. The U.S. should handle Australia and Paraguay pretty easily. That if you have 2 wins, whatever happens in Turkey does not matter. You are advancing in the World Cup to the knockout stage, the round of 32. And that's where the serious struggles begin because you don't know who you're going to play until the group stage is over. So I understand why they're playing Belgium. I understand why, and I'm not going to read too off much into the loss. Belgium is a round of 8 team, I think, in the World Cup. I think they can even go to the semifinals if they get a fortunate enough draw to do so. Um, Not enough people give enough credit to the Jupiler Pro League. They are pretty stout. But yeah, the United States and Belgium both wore white jerseys and were confused and complained about it when they had the chance to avoid it. And yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Um, I don't feel confident in the United States right now and actually doing anything in the knockout stage. But again, I think the talking point is just getting out of the groups. And I think they can do that pretty easily, I think. But that is World Cup in a nutshell. Obviously, the World Cup begins in June. Um, Most of the leagues around the world were on a international break to allow for these games to kick off and take place. So they will play again next weekend. We'll go ahead and jump into what the soccer schedule looks like beginning for next weekend. We have in MLS, it is Toronto versus Colorado, Real Salt Lake versus Sporting Kansas City, New England Revolution in Montreal, New York Red Bulls in Cincinnati, uh, Atlanta versus Columbus, DC United versus Dallas, New York City FC taking on St. Louis, Miami hosting Austin, Charlotte hosting Philadelphia, Chicago hosting Nashville, Houston and LAFC. They're hosting Seattle and Orlando, respectively. Vancouver is hosting Portland for Cascadia Cup. San Jose is hosting San Diego and a California Cup. And LA Galaxy is hosting Minnesota United. All the games for this weekend are on Saturday for the first time. Typically, they split the games up a little bit between Saturday and Sunday. Not this time. MLS is putting all those games on Saturday, I think because of Easter. It would make sense. So there you go. That is all 15. Is that 15 or 16 games? Should be 16. I'm missing one. I don't know why I'm missing one. But that's how MLS looks right now. Standings wise, Nashville leads nothing's changed from last time we talked about this. Nashville leads the East. The West is being led by LAFC. Only 5 games played, though, very early run in the season. Columbus being at 0 points with 5 losses in a row is uncharacteristic. Columbus being 14th in the East with only 2 draws and 3 losses is a problem. But a lot of things can change here. LAFC, Vancouver, San Jose, San Diego, top 4 right now. That is similar to how it was last year. Keep an eye as the West continues to sort of cannibalize itself. They are the most competitive conference of the two, and we'll see how things play out from there. Again, all those games take place on the 4th. A lot of soccer taking place on the 4th here. Also, the Premier League takes place the week after Easter, so they take place beginning on April 10th and 11th. West Ham hosts Wolves. Arsenal hosts Bournemouth. Brentford hosts Everton. Burnley hosts Brighton. Liverpool hosts Fulham. Crystal Palace hosts Newcastle. Sunderland hosts Tottenham. Nottingham Forest hosts Aston Villa. Chelsea hosts Manchester City. And Manchester United hosts Leeds. All of that is week 32 for the Premier League. Right now, Arsenal is top of the board with 70 points. They have 9 points in hand over Manchester City. Manchester United sit 3rd. Aston Villa rounds out the Champions League places at the moment ahead of Liverpool, who lost their last game out. Chelsea is in 6th. They are in the Conference League positions at the moment. Brentford in 7th. Everton 8th. Fulham 9th. Brighton 10th make up the top half of the Premier standings. Sunderland, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, and Leeds. That's your top 15. Leeds in relative danger. They are not clear from relegation. The gap between West Ham, who is 18th, and Leeds is just 4 points. With 6 match days left to go, that is a considerable problem for Leeds because anything can happen in those games. Nottingham Forest is 16th, and Tottenham is 17th. Tottenham is legitimately under threat of relegation. They have lost 4 of their last 5. And it's a huge problem. They are the only team that has lost 4 of their last 5. They are the only team that is winless in their last 5, other than Leeds and Bournemouth. Bournemouth has drawn off 5. Leeds has drawn 3 times in the same time span. And they are just 1 point out of the relegation zone. West Ham, if they can grab some more wins while Tottenham toils and rolls around in the mud, West Ham can put Tottenham into the championship, which I think is hilarious because they won the Europa League last year. Burnley and Wolves are at the bottom of the board, and I think they have kind of accepted that they're going to go back to the championship by the end of the season. So fun stuff there in the Premier League. But again, that is 2 weeks from now. That is beginning April 10th is when they get back into action to wrap up their season. Over in Germany, we got the Bundesliga. They are playing this weekend. Most of their games on Saturday. They've had 2 games on Sunday. Let's walk through it. SC Freiburg hosts Bayern Munich. TSJ Hoffenheim hosts FSV Mainz. SV Werder Bremen hosts RB Leipzig. Hamburger SV hosts FC Augsburg. Borussia Mönchengladbach hosts FC Heidenheim. Looking at the wrong area. Bayer Leverkusen is hosting VfL Wolfsburg. VfB Stuttgart is hosting Borussia Dortmund. Those games are on Saturday. Union Berlin is hosting St. Pauli on Easter Sunday. And Eintracht Frankfurt is hosting FC Köln on Easter Sunday as well. Bayern Munich is back atop the board, just like with Arsenal in the Premier League. Bayern has a 9-point lead over Dortmund. Stuttgart and Leipzig currently make up the top 4. Those are your Champions League places in the major leagues. Hoffenheim is currently in the Europa League position. They are 5th. Tied with Leipzig, but down on goal differential. Bayer Leverkusen, after just 2 seasons ago being undefeated, they are now sixth. They are in the Conference League spot. They have drawn 4 of the last 5, but they are undefeated in 5 to be in that sixth spot. And with a decent margin, 8 points over Eintracht Frankfurt, who are safely in the top 10. SC Freiburg, Union Berlin, and Augsburg hold up the top 10 positions there over FSV Mainz. Hamburger SV, who were promoted from the second Bundesliga last year, they are holding their own at the moment, tied with Mainz on goal differential and on points. Mainz has more goals for than Hamburger SV does. Borussia Mönchengladbach in 13th, Werder Bremen in 14th place, separated by 1 point there. FC Köln are sitting 15th place at the moment, 2 points clear of St. Pauli, who is in the relegation playoff spot of 16th. VfL Wolfsburg and FC Heidenheim are sitting right now in the relegation spots. Wolfsburg is a full game behind on St. Pauli. Heidenheim is practically assured relegation at this point. They are out of arm's reach of both Wolfsburg and St. Pauli at this point, so they will be going back down to the second division next season as things currently sit. In the second Bundesliga, they also play again on Saturday. Kaiserslautern hosts Fortuna Dusseldorf. Arminia Bielefeld hosts FC Darmstadt. FC Magdeburg hosts VfL Bochum. Dynamo Dresden hosts Hertha Berlin. Greuther hosts SC Paderborn. Schalke 04 hosts Karlsruhe FC. Hanover hosts Elversberg on Easter. Eintracht Braunschweig hosts FC Nuremberg. And Holstein Kiel hosts Preußen Munster on Easter as well. Schalke currently sits top of the board over Elversberg. Those are the two automatic positions to go up into the top flight. Paderborn sits in the relegation playoff spot based on goal differential with Elversberg. Darmstadt and Hanover are all within a game of those positions. Hertha Berlin sits in sixth. A little bit further back, they are 2 games back on Hanover in that sixth spot. Kaiserslautern in seventh, sit even further behind. Karlsruhe in the 8th position, sits ahead of Nuremberg by 1 point. Nuremberg is the top half marker at the moment. Bochum begins the second half of the table with 33 points in 10th. Dusseldorf is in 11th. Dynamo Dresden, after being relegation threatened earlier in the season, they have picked up some wins to get themselves up to 12th over Eintracht Braunschweig. Greuther and Arminia Bielefeld are currently above the relegation zone. The playoff spot for Kreisliga is where you'll find Holstein Kiel in 16th, and Magdeburg and Preußen Munster are 17th and 18th, respectively, but it's close at the bottom. 11th through 18th are separated by 7 points with 7 games to play. So a lot still to play for there. No one in that bottom half is safe at the moment. Munster is trying to stay up in the second division. They were promoted from the third Liga last year. Same with Dynamo Dresden. They're both trying to stay up at the expense of Magdeburg and maybe Holstein Kiel. Over in La Liga in Spain, they also play this weekend. Match day 30 kicks off with Rayo Vallecano hosting Elche on the 3rd. That is 3 p.m. Eastern time. Most of these games are going to be on ESPN, I believe. ESPN are one of the streaming platforms. I don't know. I don't watch La Liga. I don't care. Real
They're on
Sociedad,
ESPN Plus.
They're on ESPN. I know Bundesliga is. I didn't know if La Liga was as well. Real Sociedad and Levante, they play on Saturday. Most of the games are actually on Easter, it looks like. Mallorca hosts Real Madrid. Real Betis hosts Espanyol, and Atletico Madrid hosts Barcelona. All of those games are on Saturday. Getafe hosts Athletic Club Bilbao on Easter Sunday. That is 8 a.m. Eastern time on ESPN+. Valencia hosts Celta Vigo on Easter. Oviedo hosts Sevilla. Alaves hosts Osasuna. And Girona hosts Villarreal on Monday. So Monday, 3 p.m. for the end of match day 30. And they'll have, after this weekend, they'll have 8 match days left to go. So that'll be fun. Barcelona currently leads the standings over Real Madrid. It's a 4-point gap with 9 matches left to play. Villarreal and Atletico Madrid sit top 4 in your Champions League places. Madrid obviously losing their last time out against Real Madrid in the Madrid derby. Real Betis and Celta Vigo host the other European places at the moment. Real Sociedad, Getafe, Athletic Club Bilbao, and Osasuna are in your top 10. Ahead of Espanyol, Valencia, Girona, Rayo Vallecano, Sevilla, Alaves, and Elche, with Mallorca, Levante, and Real Oviedo in the relegation places at the moment. But it's close. Elche is ahead of Mallorca by 1 point. Oviedo is not quite so close. They are 8 points behind Elche for safety. Um, Levante is 2 points behind Mallorca and 3 points behind Elche. So those positions could swap hands several times before the season is over. Oviedo, though, has not performed really well. They have lost 16 of the 29 games played so far in La Liga. So fun stuff there. Again, it's a talking point's going to be between Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid, but Villarreal is proving to also be a handful at the moment. In the French Ligue 1, it is going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. And by interesting, I mean for everyone but PSG. PSG hosts Toulouse. That is on Friday. They play at 2:45 p.m. Eastern. I believe this is on Paramount Plus. I believe. If I have any, I don't know what all's on ESPN Plus and what all isn't. I think this is. Strasbourg and Nice who play on Saturday. Let me actually look to see where these games are being played. No, it's only in Fubo for Ligue 1. Interesting. Wouldn't have guessed that. I have to get back to my spot. Okay, so Strasbourg hosts Nice. Brest hosts Rennes. Lille hosts Lille. I hate the French language so much. Angers hosts Lyon. Metz hosts Nantes. Lorient hosts Paris FC. Le Havre and Auxerre, they play on Easter, and Monaco hosts Marseille on Easter as well. PSG is leading this league, and it last time I checked, it wasn't particularly close. Actually, it is close. Lynn is 1 point away from PSG. Wouldn't have guessed that, but that is where we're at right now. Marseille is in third, 49 points. They are not close. So it is a two-horse race at the top. Marseille is in third. Lyon is supposed to be in the Champions League spot. For some reason, this table is showing that Lyon's not in European places at all. So I'm not entirely sure why. Lille is in the Europa spot at the moment in fifth. Monaco is in sixth for the Conference League. They're ahead of Rennes, Strasbourg, Toulouse, and Lorient. Brest, Angers, Paris FC, Le Havre, Nice, and Auxerre, they sit top 16. Auxerre is in the playoff spot to avoid relegation. Nantes and Metz are in the relegation spots at the moment, and it's not close at the bottom, so it seems pretty clear that those three teams are going to be there at the end of the season. And typically, we would talk about Serie A, right? We talk about the Italian league. They're one of the top 5 leagues. But because Italy is a bunch of insufferable pricks and they lost to Bosnia in the World Cup qualifying, we're talking about Bosnia today instead because, again, fuck Italy. So the upcoming matches here for Bosnia, this is a 10 league Premier League for Bosnia, for those that are not familiar. Velez Sarsfield hosts Zrinski on Friday. Two of these games are on Friday. Prijador and Sloga Doboj play on Friday as well. Radnik Bijalina and Soroki Brzež host each other on Saturday. Posuce and Borak play on Saturday as well. They don't play on Easter, thankfully. Zaleznikar and Sarajevo play off on Saturday as well. That's 2:45 p.m. Zrinski is the defending champion at the moment. Borak is currently the points leader over Zrinski and Sarajevo. Borak is put on a phenomenal season. They are undefeated in the last 5, 20 wins, 2 draws, 4 losses. They are ahead by 9 points over Zrinski. Your champion goes into Champions League qualifying rounds. Second place goes into Europa. Third place goes into Conference League. So that is where they sort out at the moment. Right now, it is relegation danger for Rudar Prijador and Sloga Doboj at the bottom 2 positions of the Premier League of Bosnia at the moment. And for Italy, we will talk about you again next week, maybe, depending on how social media goes, because you are very goddamn annoying at the moment. And with that, we've covered all the news for soccer. Kick off the podcast here today. And so now it's time to talk about motorsports. NASCAR at Martinsville, F1 at Suzuka, and IndyCar at Barber. Eli, what do you want to talk about first?
Well, I watched IndyCar. I didn't watch anything else. So, well, I watched F1, but IndyCar was the most interesting. So,
All right, let's start there. 100% we can do that. Let me pull all that information up on my screen here. Barber was actually a really, really fun race to watch. I watched I didn't watch much of NASCAR at Martinsville. I watched bits and pieces. I watched the F1 race at Suzuka, and I watched obviously IndyCar at Barber. Um, Below, obviously he's good, right? The number 10 crew is fantastic. They won at Barber again. Third time Pelot's won at Barber. It wasn't a guarantee. It took a bad pit stop from Christian Lundgaard and his number 7 McLaren team that secured Pelot the race win. Pelot, so tire wear was a huge ordeal in this race. No one knew really what the strategy was going to be like going in. People thought that maybe it was going to be an alternate race. Others thought Alexander Rossi was a big one that thought that the primary tire was going to be the tire that was going to sort of lead the way. Ultimately, I think Rossi was correct on that. Unfortunately, everyone else was able to pivot after figuring out that, hey, the alternates aren't really firing off the way they were in warm up, which is fine. But it was very interesting to see how that all played out. Pelot had pole position. The weekend was marked by a couple of really severe crashes. Will Power lost his brakes. I think in qualifying, either in qualifying or second practice. I don't remember. No, it was in qualifying. It was the first round of qualifying because he ended up starting 23rd. Um, that was in turn 5. In turn 1, Scott McLaughlin touched the grass, pirouetted his car, and went over the Armco barrier through the catch fencing in turn 1. Thankfully, both were okay. And for the case of McLaughlin, didn't need to go to a backup car. I don't know if Willpower did or not. He had a heavier hit, so he may have, but McLaughlin got to use the same car for qualifying and the race. McLaughlin crashed in practice 1 on Friday. But the chaos allowed Alex Palou to grab his first pole position of the season. He would convert that into laps led and the race win. But again, the conversation was largely about the tire wear, and Palou did not look invincible. That last pit stop, he ended up in traffic, which was a huge concern because in IndyCar, for those that maybe don't follow along, they don't have the same blue flag rules as F1 does. You only really start seeing blue flags if you've been lapped by the entire field. So you have the ability to fight. If you're a lap down to the leader, but not to like second or third place, you have the ability to fight to maintain position. Um, and so you saw that with Mick Schumacher. You saw that with Louis Foster. You saw that with Dennis Hauger as well, with Kaio Colette. They were a lap down to the leader, but not to the entire field, which made things really interesting to see how that played out. Palou had to fight through it. It seemed like Lundgaard, when he made his final stop, was going to secure the race lead and cruise to his second career IndyCar victory. Instead, a slow stop, a right rear tire that did not want to get into place, slowed him down, and Lundgaard had to battle to get back to second place. Graham Rahal with a drive of a lifetime. We've not seen this from him in almost 3 years. Grabbed the podium early, was in the podium places early, and just never let go, it seemed like. This was despite the fact that his other teammates were kind of buns at Barber. They were 24th or 25th at the time the race was called at the end of lap 90. But big race for Graham Rahal. Grabbed third place, couldn't hold off Lundgaard. David Malukas was fourth. He didn't realize he had 100 seconds of push to pass left until 2 laps to go. And he couldn't do anything with it once he found out, which was hilarious to me. But Palou, still not championship leader. Kyle Kirkwood finished fifth and did enough to hold on to the points lead by 2 points as we head into Long Beach in 2 weeks. That was, but it's a fun race. Like they full races up on YouTube now. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. The only thing I would say is that forgive the usual Fox catastrophe. Fox is so bad. It is so fucking bad. It's funny because actually I think all of us watched it in ABN's Patreon server. I think we did a watch along
Uh,
for this.
yeah.
So
Lundgaard was very good. I was kind of surprised by that. And well, I wasn't necessarily surprised. I was surprised it was on the same level as Pillow, especially at a track like Barber. And he had a chance until they couldn't get that right rear on or off, whatever it was.
they couldn't get it back on. It was the struggle getting it back on because they
Yeah,
dropped the jack on it.
yeah, not optimal. He definitely had a chance to win or at least make it a lot closer than it would have been. I don't know if he would have come out in front of Pillow, but probably a few seconds behind, and he was looking like the better driver on the day and had a better car. So
When Lundgaard came in, so the pit stop, the delta time is about 24 seconds of Barber in IndyCar. When he came down pit lane, he had 28 seconds to Pillow.
yeah,
So he had a really good chance to grab the race lead, and instead it cost him so much extra time to stay stationary on pit lane. He ended up behind Ray Hall and had to fight him back, which was brutal. But Lundgaard, with his success, because he got podium in St. Petersburg, and then second here in Barber, he is now third in points. Ahead of Malukas, Joseph Newgarden is in fifth. Pato O'Ward is in sixth. He did not have a great time in Barber. Finished 17th on the day. McLaughlin finished 16th at Barber as well. Marcus Ericsson top 10 again. He has scored 3 top 10s in the first 4 races. Same goes for Marcus Armstrong. 5th, 10th, and 6th for Armstrong. He is 9th in points ahead of Scott Dixon, who had an abysmal St. Petersburg, but a way better Phoenix, Arlington, and Barber. And Scott Dixon is expected to once again be a threat at Long Beach, where he has pulled off so many fuel savings shenanigans. It's not even funny. Kirkwood, I think, is the favorite to win Long Beach, though. He has won 2 of the last 3.
I would have to agree. It's and really, as somebody who's a Pato fan, it's really been Pato's first stinker of the season. I mean, the first time outside the top 5 all season. Because he's been pretty consistent, 5th, 4th, and then a 5th, and now a 17th. I mean, it is what it is. Just didn't have the speed, and well, probably won't be the first time. I mean, everybody out in the top. Everybody else in the standings besides Kyle Kirkwood has been finished outside the top 10. So, not really a big issue. Just got to be a little bit more consistent. Probably get some more podiums for Pato. Though every race matters when it's such a short season like IndyCar is.
Yeah, 18 races does not help your case at all. Obviously, we've had one oval. Next oval is the 500 at the end of May. Very interested to see how this plays out. Obviously, Long Beach is in a couple weeks. Then things kind of focus on Indy. We got the Indy 500 test at the end of April, and then the Indy Grand Prix beginning of May, and then it's all Indy 500 all the way until Memorial Day weekend when we have the 500 itself. We're not going to have a genuine idea until after Indy of who's where. I think Kirkwood and Pillow are going to be in that conversation. Kirkwood is the guy at Andretti right now. We know Pillow has been the guy at Ganassi for the last 5 years. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. Obviously, the conversation is going to start swirling more and more, and especially louder when you look at all the drivers with contract years right now. Newgarden, McLaughlin, they're in contract years at the moment. Marcus Ericsson's in a contract year at the moment right now. I think Ferrucci's in a contract year as well with Foyt. All very interesting. What happens to Nolan Siegel? Does he get replaced mid-season? Does he get replaced with Kylem Eilert mid-season? And do they just secure that position now, or do they wait for the end of the season and sign one of the many free agents? Time will tell on that. I don't think Siegel makes the season.
I
I think you jump on somebody as soon as possible. Um, I think Ilott being a free agent right now, with Prema falling apart, I think is your best bet. I don't think I don't I think the vibe currently is that Newgarden is joining McLaren next year, but I don't necessarily think that's a good idea because y-
yeah.
they're going to clash really hard. But in the same vein, Newgarden knows how to build a team. Pato and Lundgaard don't. So there's experience, there's championship experience that they don't have that he does. So I can see why they want to. I'm just not sure if that is quite. Not sure if that's quite the play. But either way, it seems like Nolan Siegel is pretty well done in that six car. At the if not before, but at the end of the season, he is done, and he can go. He can go race IMSA
Yeah.
again. Um, so that'll be fun. Points as we talked about, sort of points as they run. Alexander Rossi's in 11th after Scott Dixon. Roy Hall with his podium moves up to 12th ahead of Will Power. Will Power has not had an impressive season so far. I don't think we expected him to. It's just Andretti's a lot different than Penske. Rosenquist's 13th. Ferrucci is in 15th. Ferrucci got his first top 10 of the season at Barber, finished in 8th. Arenas VK is 16th in points. Dennis Hauger is currently leading the Rookie of the Year conversation. He is 17th in points ahead of Kiffin Simpson. Romain Grosjean is in 19th place. Caio Collet is in 20th, ahead of Louis Foster, Christian Rasmussen, Nolan Siegel, Stingray Robb, and Mick Schumacher, who was having the School of Hard Knocks to start off the season. And I was wrong. I thought that Mick Schumacher would have a better running at Barber. His best race has been Phoenix. So that is a bit odd. But we move on with Long Beach on the 11th, I think. No, the 12th. It's on the 12th. No, I'm even more wrong. It's the 19th. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. It's the 19th at 5:30 Eastern.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an odd one, I guess.
I understand why, because they're avoiding the March Madness the championship, and they're avoiding the Masters because the Masters tanked
Oh,
the
yeah.
ratings for Long Beach last year. So I understand why. I just fuck. So we'll see again in a month for IndyCar. It was nice having back to back races while it lasted.
Yeah.
But
A lot of quick races, and yeah, 4 races in 1 month is like a new record.
it feels like it. And it's gonna get crazier. We got five races in August.
Yeah.
We have five races in August, 6 races in a row to end the season, from Portland all the way to Laguna Seca. 2 races in July, 2 races in June, 3 races in May. April is just the odd one. It's the odd one because you had Sebring last weekend, or the weekend before last weekend. So there was the break there. You have March Madness. You have the Masters coming up here. You'll have actually, I think the test might actually be before Long Beach. Now that I think about it, the Indy 500 test might be before. So that might be why. I'll have to double check on that. I don't want to look it up right now, but I think that might be the case because there's not a lot of time between Long Beach and Indy GP.
It is April 23rd, 24th.
Okay, so it is after Long Beach. Okay, so we're twiddling our thumbs for 3 weeks. Cool.
Wait, no. I'm sorry. April 29th, 28th. Last year's, I guess, was on the 24th.
Okay, so that sucks, but all right. But that's IndyCar in a nutshell. We've gotten through the first 4 races of the season, and there are now 14 to go in the IndyCar Series season. We'll pivot to F1 because I actually watched this race, and it was not really exciting. I can't really say.
I watched it. I kind of regret it.
Like, okay, so obviously everyone is distracted by the talks of the powertrain regulations and the hybrid stuff and all that fun extra stuff. It did not help Suzuka at all.
It actively hindered it, I would say.
Oh,
And
100% it did. The Ollie Behrman crash is
fucking embarrassing on
it is
a
hilarious.
lot of different levels. I can't even blame Colapinto for this because
it's not his
the
fault.
closing speed is like 40. It's like I don't know. At
It's
one
close
point
to
I saw
it's close to 25, 30 miles an hour, the difference. Yeah, you're
yeah, it
not
was like
wrong.
40, 50 kilometers. It's just like that is an insane difference, and somebody's gonna get hurt. And I say that they're lucky that Behrman
Behrman didn't
or
get hurt.
Colapinto didn't get hurt, because if Behrman hits Colapinto at that speed and then they both go flying into the barriers, there could be a lot of different things that happen. I mean, we saw one scary wreck at Suzuka with the support races already. I don't think we really need another one. And it's just embarrassing on a lot of different levels that this is kind of what it's come to. And I can't see myself watching another 3 a.m. race for some bullshit like that.
Well, thankfully you won't have to for a while because the next race is in May and it's in Miami, which is at 1 p.m. In fact, you don't have another European race until June with Monaco. So let's go ahead and walk through it. So this was the first race that had both McLarens starting. They qualified third and fifth. It was Antonelli and Russell on the front row. Piastri outqualified Lando. He was on third. Lando was fifth. Leclerc ahead of Hamilton on the outside. So Leclerc fourth, Hamilton sixth. Pierre Gasly continuing his fine form. He was seventh on the grid ahead of Isaac Hadjar for Red Bull. Gabriel Bortoleto in ninth ahead of Arvin Lindblad. Max Verstappen qualified 11th, did not make it into Q3. Once again, Esteban Ocon 12th. Hulkenberg started 13th ahead of Lawson. Colapinto in 15th. Sainz in 16th, made it into Q2, but barely. And then those eliminated in Q1 was Albon, Behrman, Perez, Bottas, Alonso, and Stroll. Aston Martin is suffering. Cadillac's new. And Behrman, surprisingly, not good in qualifying. He's been sort of carrying that team for Haas over the last couple weeks. Not this case here. Esteban in 12th, Behrman in 18th. Obviously, Behrman's race, we talked about it being shit because, super clipping into Spoon, just not fun. But for the first time, Oscar Piastri got to start the race. Whoopee! And they leapfrogged the Mercedes into turn one. Piastri had the lead over Leclerc. But Leclerc, it's interesting. One thing I took note of is that Mercedes has shown that they are slow on the starts. Apparently, that is not entirely a powertrain thing because McLaren has the same exact powertrain and had a way better start. Both Lando and Oscar did. So I'd like to know what the difference is. Obviously, we're not going to know for a little bit, but
Driver.
I don't think it's the driver because Piastri and Lando aren't that much better than Antonelli and especially Russell. Russell was really good on the starts last year. I don't think I don't think the driver makes that much of a difference when they're all.
I don't really know what else it could be except for maybe like transmission, but that's into
gearbox.
powertrain.
I'm assuming there's something that is different, and I don't know what it is.
Because the turbos are the same, because that's in the powertrain. I feel like a lot of the issues that were talked about were relating to turbo and turbo spooling.
You can imagine, right?
I can't imagine that the powertrains are different between the cars. So the only other difference I can think of is gearing, but I would imagine they would be quite similar.
You would imagine, right? But there was a difference because Gasly's had a quicker start and the McLaren's had a quicker start, only they were close enough to actually take the lead here in Suzuka. And I don't entirely understand why. And the way I'm looking at it here is that, the way I'm looking at it, the hybrid pack and the engine are part of the same unit. That's part of the power unit that Mercedes gives to its customers. But the transmission is different. Transmission gets to be different. So it has to be the transmission.
Yeah, maybe there's an
Maybe.
issue with it going out of neutral or into first, something of that
Maybe.
sort.
I just had to go and check. Yeah, so the powertrain does not include the gearbox. Huh. Unusual. Um, but Piastri got the start. Obviously, Mercedes has the best long run car at the moment. That there wasn't really much of a conversation about if that would change. Um, it took him more time. It took him way more time to get around Leclerc and Piastri, but Antonelli was able to do it. Did an outstanding job and grabbed the race win. Ultimately, Russell couldn't do
Really
anything.
got lucky.
Yeah, Antonelli got really lucky. Piastri and Leclerc though held their own. They finished second and third. So once Antonelli got back to the front of the field, the top four didn't change. Really, the top six, top seven didn't change because Hamilton was sixth, Lando was fifth, and Gasly was seventh. So once you got through fifth through seventh, it was interesting. Max got to eighth. He was battling Liam Lawson and Pierre Gasly at the end of the race there. Mostly Pierre Gasly. Lawson was on his own little race at the end. Ocon gets the last point scoring position. He was 10th for Haas. So Haas, in their beautiful Godzilla car, did get something out of Suzuka. Esteban Ocon stayed ahead of Nico Hulkenberg, who missed out on points just barely by a little over a second. Isaac Hadjar finished in 12th, Gabriel Bortolo in 13th, Arvin Lidblad 14th, ahead of Sainz, Calapinto, and Perez, who finished on the lead lap for the first time for Cadillac. So Cadillac making improvements slowly but surely. Alonso and Bottas finished a lap down. Albon finished 2 laps down. They were starting to have so many problems with that second Williams that they just like, come on in, we'll test different parts. So they did like a front wing change and different stuff for Williams for Albon's car because they're not going to be on track until May because of the cancellation of the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix due to the war in Iran. Stroll retired with a water pressure issue, and we talked about Behrman's crash. That was on lap 20 when he tried to avoid Colapinto and found himself going sideways into the wall at Spoon. He did walk away with the limp, but there's no serious injuries for him other than just bruising, which he has 6 weeks to heal. So lucky him. Antonelli takes over the points lead by 9 over Russell. Leclerc is in third. Hamilton's in fourth in points. Lando is now fifth in points for McLaren. Mercedes has a pretty firm lead in the Constructors' Championship standings, as one would imagine. Ferrari second, McLaren in third. And then Haas is in fourth. Let's go, Haas. This was largely, though, a forgettable race. Like, you look at it like Russell couldn't pass Leclerc Piastri in a faster car. Lando and Hamilton, they went nowhere. Pierre Gasly went nowhere. Verstappen, once he got to Gasly, couldn't do anything to stop him. Um, Overall, forgettable race, and we head to Miami, which is going to be I think has a chance to be a wild race in May. Um, just because this is going to be a really dumb, it could be a very, very dumb sort of race. Um, you look at all the straightaways from turn 8 to turn 11. You look at the front. You look at the long back straightaway from 16 to 17. The front straightaway after turn 19 to turn 1. Bunch of different places for hybrid shenanigans. It's either going to be a wild race or a very boring one.
There's a chance somebody does the old Mark Webber at Valencia.
Valencia is goated because it flipped Mark Webber off the back of a Caterham. Yeah, we have until May 3rd. May 3rd and then May 24th, the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal. Um, it's funny because the cancellation of the the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix means that F2 and F3 may have to adjust their schedules. They may have to run at both Miami and Montreal to make up those rounds, which, if that's the case, kind of fucks up Colton Herta because he was planning on running the Indy 500 this year. And he may not. So waiting on confirmation on that because obviously Montreal and Indy are on the same day. The way Memorial Day weekend looks is that you'll have The Indianapolis 500 starting first. Montreal starts immediately after the 500 ends, and then the Coke 600 starts, I think, at 7 p.m. Um, so Montreal, they realized that they were going to get killed viewership wise. I don't know why it matters because they're streaming now, so it doesn't really particularly matter. Um, but they decided that they would avoid the Indy 500 time slot at least this year. But obviously, if F2 is racing in Montreal, it means that Colton Herta would not be able to race in the Indy 500 because F2 would happen during the F1 race or during the IndyCar race. It would happen during the 500 because F2's feature race is the morning before the F1 race. That's how that works. The sprint race takes place on Saturday. The feature is on Sunday. So Colton would have to race that day, but in F2. They're still waiting on clarifying that. Obviously, they have a little bit of time. Obviously, we're on April 1st, and that race would not be until May 24th. So we'll figure out if they're going to make up that time or not. F2 and F3, if they don't race in Miami or Montreal, they don't race again until June, until Monaco at the beginning of June. So big potential question marks there for them that they've got to figure out. And F2 and F3, if they've already not raced since fucking Australia to kick off the season, they have already not been racing for a month. So they need to figure things out pretty quick. They need to figure things out and get that sorted because it doesn't look great right now. Nick Pressey is in the chat. We heard the Discord ping. I'm not sure if he's able to talk yet. There he goes.
Good day.
There you go. All right,
Yeah,
so
good day.
we've covered soccer and we've covered motorsports for the most part. Neither of us really cared for the Martinsville race, if for NASCAR.
Yeah, it kind of sucked.
Yeah. The only talking point was that Hamlin was a menace and fenced everyone that he saw, and then Bubba kind of ran over Hocevar. There's a lot of flack there. So
Hamlin managed to once again snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, as it would seem. At some point, it really is unfathomable how he keeps managing to just have these moments on short tracks after being the best car where it ends up being thrown away, and sometimes it's not his fault, sometimes it is. It's just what can you even say? Congrats to Chase Elliott for getting the win this weekend.
I will say I am glad that the races don't mean as much on their own. Like the talking point isn't like, oh, they're in the playoffs. It's just, oh, this is a good race. This is a good race for this driver, and now can they keep it up? I'm glad that we've neutralized that conversation because that was so annoying last year.
Yeah, this really is for the best. Imagine starting off with the season Tyler Reddick's having, and still having to acknowledge that he's still got to win 2 coin flips. He's still got 2 coin flip odds of winning the title at best.
It wouldn't be fun, but we've seen it happen before. So obviously Chase Elliott won at Martinsville in the Cup Series. Hamlin was on pole position. He led the most laps. He had the fastest lap of the race. But Chase Elliott, obviously, pit strategy worked out for him. He held off Hamlin, and that was all she wrote. Third place was Joey Logano, his third place of the season after finishing third at the 500. Bubba Wallace is, after 2 bad races now, 34th at Martinsville and 36th at 34th at Darlington, 36th at Martinsville, went from second in points down to 11th. So he needs to get things back on track. Unfortunately, Bristol is the race up next in the NASCAR Cup Series, and that is on April 12th. They're off for Easter.
Not a bad track for him.
It's not a bad track, but like he is someone where if there's bad momentum, just like with good momentum, it snowballs. Now, thankfully, he can kind of look beyond Bristol and look at Kansas because Kansas is one of his better racetracks, and so is Talladega. There is light at the end of the tunnel, even if Bubba's not doing great at Bristol. That being said, 2311 is so fucking untouchable. It is insane. It is.
It's fun. It's fun to watch.
It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch because it's like, wow, 23XI is a great 2-car team, forgetting that Riley Herbst is also a car in that team. And Riley Herbst
No,
is 30th.
they're a great 3-car team. With Corey Hart running part time and all.
Yeah. Can't wait to see him on the racetrack again. So yeah, Bristol's up next. They're off for Easter. Xfinity and Martin's Xfinity. I say Xfinity. O'Reilly's and the Craftsman Truck Series. They're at Rockingham this weekend because they race Friday and Saturdays. They don't race on Sunday. So that'll be fun. 38 cars, it looks like, for the O'Reilly's Auto Parts Series, and I think 32 or 33 trucks for Friday. Am I going to watch those races? I don't think so. I think I'm going to be doing stuff at that point. But I may watch the recaps because the O'Reilly Series is the best broadcast motorsports got right now, and it's not particularly close. Reddick leads the points still. He finished 15th at Martinsville, but he can kind of laugh that off because he is still ahead by 82 points. He's got an 82 point advantage.
It's a bad race for him. It's the second time it has become a bad race for him to finish 15th because that's the second time he's done it this season.
He finished 13th at Vegas. He finished 15th at Martinsville. That is his worst finish this season. Blaney's in second. Hamlin is in third. Elliott's in fourth. William Byron is top 5 ahead of Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs, we shit on Ty Gibbs a lot. Something has changed in that 54 car. I don't know if it's because of the lawsuit that's going on between JGR and Spire, but he's 6th, and he has finished top 6 the last 5 races in a row. 4 of the last 5, he's been top 5, and he's finished 4th 3 times. So they got him away from the plate tracks, and suddenly he's looking like Xfinity Series champion Ty Gibbs from a couple years ago, and he's ahead of Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell's in the 7th. Brad Keselowski's the best RFK driver in 8th. Kyle Larson's in 9th. And Chris Buescher is in 10th, ahead of Bubba Wallace, Joey Logano, Ryan Preece, SVG, Carson Hocevar, and Daniel Suarez is 16th at the moment. So some pretty interesting talking points. We'll see how Bristol changes things, and then Kansas, we should get back to a little bit more normality. But Ty Gibbs is a big sort of circle the spotlight there. Everyone was jumping on him after Daytona and Atlanta, but he is slowly but surely shutting people up. It took him a couple years to figure out the next gen car because it is so different from the O'Reilly's car. But he's showing that it's possible, and he's showing sort of what the timeline might look like for someone like Connor Zilisch, who is going through the same phase of figuring out this next gen car because of how different it is to the O'Reilly's machine. So we'll see how things play out there. Connor Zilisch, he is struggling just a little bit. He is the only full-time rookie. He is 33rd right now in points. He's only had 2 top 20s, and that was at Coda and Darlington. But he is going to have some time to figure it out. Again, this is becoming the thing in motorsports. Time is not always friendly to the drivers, but you just need time to acclimatize, and we're seeing that right now. So keep an eye on the 54th Ty Gibbs. Unfortunately, as much as we all love to bash on him because he's not a likable dude, he is on a roll at the moment. He is on, outside of Reddick, he is on the best roll of anybody in the Cup Series right now. And I feel really gross, and I want to throw up saying that.
he's had some really good races, and this is something I started noticing at Phoenix and Las Vegas, is that he's consistently top 10 throughout the day, and he's really starting to put together these races, and probably wouldn't be long before a race win for him. So
yeah, I would not be surprised if he grabs a race win. I don't think. I mean, they're excelling at the short ovals right now, being top 5 in the short ovals. I don't think that's where Gibbs is the strongest at the moment. I say that even though Hamlin damn near won the damn thing. But Hamlin's always been an outlier when it comes to the short ovals. I feel like Bell's not consistently been there, and Ty's car has always... It's one of the things. He's there in the stages. He just isn't there at the end of the race, and that is a strategy issue for him. He has run 130 races in 4 years in the Cup Series level, and the dude's 23. So he's got time to figure it out. And I think he is. 38 top 10s, 2 pole positions in the Cup Series, and obviously we talk about 5 of those top 10s coming so far this year. Give him some time. Give him some time. He might figure it out. And again, former O'Reilly Series champion, and that does mean something, even if it means taking a little bit of time to
He
get
won like
up to speed.
9 races in that season too. He won a lot of races in his championship season.
Yes, he was
I
untouchable.
forgot the exact number, but it was really good.
Yeah. So yeah, keep an eye on Ty Gibbs. I would not be surprised if he's a contender again at Bristol. That kind of just seals the deal, I think, as far as him just being a top 5 driver right now in the Cup Series. I don't think Talladega, it's hard to predict who's going to win. 2211 is a good shout. I mean, Reddick's already won at Daytona, and Bubba's also won a plate track. I think he's won Talladega, if I'm not mistaken.
He won Talladega twice.
I know he's won. I know he won Kansas.
He won the shortened race there.
I know he won the. Oh yeah, that's right. The range shortened race is what I'm remembering.
And then he won another one, I believe. I forgot.
Let me double check
when.
Here. No, he's only won 3 times. He won Brickyard, he won Kansas, and he won the range shortened Talladega race. I literally just pulled up his racing stats to check because I didn't remember which one he won. Yeah, his first win came at Talladega. That was in 2021. That was the first year with RFK because he missed the playoffs that year, and then finished second at the Coke 0400, and then won Talladega, and then he won at Kansas after also missing the playoffs, I think, that year too.
That was still a playoffs car because he switched to the 45 after Kurt Busch got injured.
It was still a playoff car, but he was himself was out of the playoffs. Yeah, because he was 19 points at the end of the season. And they obviously won Indy last year to get into the playoffs. Yeah, I mean he just needs to kind of get out of his head and leave Bristol in the rearview mirror and look at Kansas, look at Talladega, look at Texas. Those 3 races could be huge for him. The Coke 600 could also be pretty big for him. I think Watkins Glen sort of take it or leave it. There's a lot of really good road course racers right now. He's getting better, but I don't know if he's able to contend with some of the best. Nashville, Michigan, Pocono. Again, the bulk of the season should be in his favor. He just needs to settle down and sort of get out of his head and sort of decompress a little bit, and he should be okay. So we'll find out. But yeah, Reddick's won 4 races this season. Blaney won at Phoenix. Hamlin won at Vegas. Elliott won at Martinsville. With Bristol up in 2 weeks. Yippee-ki-yay. It's sort of just how that is. And that gets us through all the way through the motorsports portion. We are an hour and 22 minutes in. Woohoo. All we have now to talk about, let me look at my rundown sheet real quick. Oh, that's right. We still have to talk about fucking everything else. All right. Well, let's jump in basketball. Let's jump in March Madness time here. Brackets are, for the most part, busted. For those that are listening in, the Patreon group had a bracket challenge. For those that want to be part of the Patreon, QR code is now on your screen. I've been so off on a tangent that I've just not been paying attention. We are down to 4. It's getting pretty interesting to see how this all plays out right now. The final 4 is Arizona and Michigan on one side and UConn versus Illinois on the other. UConn in a buzzer beater beat Duke 73-72. An outstanding game, but Duke completely choked it away. Arizona kind of lit the brakes off Purdue, beat them 79-64, 15-point difference there in favor of Arizona. I should have picked Arizona. I don't know why I didn't. I feel like an idiot. Purdue beat Texas 79-77. Texas, I think, overachieved compared to where everyone thought they would be. But ultimately, Purdue is where we thought they would be. Arizona beat Purdue. All of that makes sense. Michigan, number 1 seed in the Midwest. They have had the run everyone thought they would have. I think right now they're the favorite now to win. It's either them or UConn. I think that's how the final's going to end up looking. Michigan beat Howard 101-80. They beat St. Louis 95-72. None of their games have been close. 90-77 for Michigan over Alabama, and they beat Tennessee 95-62 to get into the Final Four. Again, no surprise there from Michigan. They have been the most convincing of the tournament so far. Illinois had a really convincing win over Iowa, 71-59, to also get into the Final Four, where they will face UConn. But they have not been convincing for the most part. They beat Houston by 10 points. They beat VCU by 21. They beat Pennsylvania by 35. But those are teams that they should be beating. They are a Big Ten team for a reason. They have not had to face anyone of significant substance. Houston, I think, was overrated. They had to face Idaho. They had to face Texas A&M. Neither of those were actual competitors, and they felt the first hurdle when they faced Illinois. I think UConn handles Illinois pretty handily. They play again on the 4th, which is on Saturday. Both the Final Four games are on Saturday because they're all in Indianapolis. And then the winners go and play on April 6th. And I think it'll be UConn and Michigan in the Final Four.
That clip of Dan Hurley is hilarious. Like, walks up to the referee and just stares in his face for like 3 minutes, and then that one's funny to me.
Waiting to see if Nick has something to say about how the bracket is going. His bracket was bold. He picked Houston to go and win it all, I think.
Mine was bold. I wasn't really expecting it to happen. It's just something I do every year where I pick Michigan State because my family are Michigan State fans. So by proxy, I am as well. The UConn one was pretty funny to me too because the game happened on my birthday, and I was out at a birthday dinner, and all of a sudden everybody starts cheering, and I look over and UConn won against Duke. I was just like, oh, that's that's cool. And then that video Dan Hurley it's just so funny.
Yeah, I was hoping that I wouldn't have to worry about, Duke blowing it, but alas, I was wrong again. It is what it is. I haven't watched much of this tournament at all, to be honest. I watched the UConn Duke game because those two going at it has been sort of just legendary over the years. And this time UConn has it. I should have picked UConn to win, and I didn't, and I feel dumb for not doing that. So the Patreon group, there's 8 of us in this group, and now realistically only 3 have a chance to win. Kevin Feemster is currently looking the best. He's got UConn. Gary Donaldson has Arizona to win it all, and Bailey Thompson has Michigan to try to win it all. Blake Henderson also has Michigan, but he lost too many of the opening round games to actually have a mathematical chance. Yeah, hard to argue. I'm 4th at the moment, so we'll see if things change in the bracket pool. Al picked Duke with me. Pressy picked Houston, and you picked Michigan State. And yeah, I think you're where you're supposed to be on that one.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, you're last.
I'm a hopeful, yeah.
So yeah,
a lot of misplaced optimism.
It was very much choose with your heart, not with your mind type deal. All right, so let's jump into the NBA playoff window. I do not watch NBA basketball for the most part. We talked about this last week. But the playoffs for the NBA are not far away. All right, so the playoffs started today. The Thunder would be the first seed of the West. They have a 60-16 record. The Spurs would be second in the West, 57-18. They are locked into the playoffs, I believe, at this point. Lakers would be the 3 seed ahead of the Denver Nuggets. The Timberwolves would be the 5 seed, and the Houston Rockets would be the 6 seed. And then you'd have the Suns and Clippers at the 7 seed, and the Trailblazers and the Warriors at the 10 seed. We talked about this before. The window in the West was pretty well shut. We knew who was in and who was out in the West. The East was what was open. The Pistons sit at the number 1 seed ahead of the Celtics. The New York Knicks sit in the 3rd seed ahead of the Cavaliers and the Hawks. The Toronto Raptors sit in the 6th seed. And then it's the 76ers and the Magic at the 7 and 8 seed. And then the Miami Heat and the Hornets at the 9 and 10 seed. For those that don't kind of follow along with the NBA, sort of like me, and I had to learn this last week, the 1 seed plays the 8 seed, and that is determined through a play-in game type scenario. The 4 seed plays the 5 seed, the 3 seed plays the 6 seed, and the 2 seed plays the 7 seed. So the 7 seed is whoever wins between the 76ers and the Magic in this case, if things stay as they are. The 8 seed is determined by whoever wins between the Heat and the Hornets. They play whoever wins between the 76ers and the Magic to determine the 8 seed. So if you're the 9 and the 10 seed, you have 2 extra games to play to try to get into the playoffs here. Same goes for the Trailblazers and Warriors at this point. I think it's convoluted, but I'm assuming they make enough money that it justifies it. I just find it all to be pretty annoying, all things considered. And at this point, both the East and the West, the actual teams in the playoffs are confirmed. It's just a matter of who's going to be in what position. So a lot of the drama is now out of the conversation altogether. So the teams I just said are the teams that are going to be in the playoffs no matter what. Whoopee! And how many games are left? I don't know. Because I also don't know how many teams are playing. I don't know how many games they play, period. So they play all the way until
82.
So they play 82 games. Cool. That helps me out a lot. So 55, 21, 65, 66. So they have quite a few games left. Right? Oh, no. I have that math completely wrong. That is, they've got 6, 7 games left? 6. 6 games left. Because the Pistons have played 76 games. So yeah, that'd be 82. So they have 6 games left. So they're not far. I can do math. I promise. So 6 games left to determine who's in what seed. But the actual teams in the playoffs have been determined. I don't have a lot on this one, to be honest. The only NBA team close to me is Cleveland, and I will not root for Cleveland on principle. So I think we're going ahead and we'll just move on from that, I think.
Not a big NBA watcher, so
I have picked up on that. However, we did have a pretty long conversation on baseball for opening day last Wednesday. 2 games going on right now. Bottom of the 8th is the Athletics hosting
there's a
the
lot of
Braves.
games going on right now.
Oh, that's right, because it's midday.
Let's see. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games currently happening.
Yeah, a lot of games going on right now. By the time you listen to this on YouTube or on Patreon, these games will be over, so it's not really. I'm not really going to worry about that. However, we are a week into the season, and a lot has changed. So the Blue Jays, as we expected, the AL East currently leading the way. Yankees are tied with them, 4-1. Orioles are 2-3. Tampa Bay Rays are 2-3 as well. The Boston Red Sox are 1-4. Whoever said the Boston Red Sox were going to be good this season, you are a liar. The Reds beat them 2-1 in the opening series for the Reds season. The Red Sox have won just once, and that was the opening day against Cincinnati. And Cincinnati promptly sent them packing, where they have continued to lose. In the AL Central, it is a little more interesting. Kansas City is 2-2. They are a game behind at the moment. The Guardians are a game ahead. They are 3-3. The Tigers are 2-3. The Minnesota Twins are 1-3, and the White Sox are 1-4. We picked the Guardians. I think we picked the Guardians and the Tigers to be top of the division right now. Kansas City, by means of just being behind a couple games, are not in the same sort of bracket at the moment. We'll see how that catches up later on. But both Kansas City and Cleveland are 500 on the season so far through the first week, and Detroit is 2-3. So we'll see how that changes. Tigers play the Diamondbacks Guardians play the Dodgers, and Kansas City plays Minnesota here today. The Rangers lead the AL West 4-1. They are right now playing. They're currently playing against Baltimore. The Astros are playing against Boston right now. Boston
Yeah, they're
has,
getting their shit smacked.
yeah, I figured it was kind of belt to ass for Boston getting beat by Houston. The Angels are 3-3. They play right.
Well,
They're
no,
playing right
I'm
now.
sorry. Texas is currently losing 8-2 to Baltimore.
Oh, okay. So Texas will end up being 4-2. Astros are 4-2 right now, playing against Boston. The Angels are also live right now, playing against the Cubs. They entered the game 3-3. The Mariners play later on today against the Yankees, and the Athletics, as we talked about, are currently live playing against the Braves. At the moment, the Athletics are 1-4 at the bottom of the AL West. The Rangers are currently top of the board. Based on what things are looking like right now, the Astros will take over that top spot, and the Rangers will drop to second at the end of the day. Over on the National League side, the Marlins are 4-1. They're playing against the White Sox at the moment, who have been basement dwelling for a long time in their division. The Marlins are 4-1. The Nationals are 3-2 and they're playing against Philadelphia right now. The Mets are playing against the Cardinals, and they are 3-2 at the
Just
moment
started.
as well. Yeah, that just began.
I have it up on my other monitor.
Yeah.
It was delayed. They had a rain delay, so
It's rain will be a big factor. The Braves are playing against the Athletics. We talked about that. They are 3-2 at the moment. The Phillies are 2-3. They are live against the Washington Nationals at the moment. The NL East, for the first time, they kicked off opening day all victorious. They were all 1-0 after the first day of MLB play. That has since changed, and the Miami Marlins are currently top of the board. And they're playing the White Sox, so I don't entirely expect that to change at the moment.
they've had a very weak strength of schedule so far. I forgot who they faced. They faced the Rockies and the White Sox in their first two series, who are both
They're both
considered the two worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
So super easy wins.
Yeah, they needed the pat statting. The NL Central, a little bit closer. The Brewers, top of the NL Central, as I think everyone expected would be the case. That's how it was last season. They're live against Tampa Bay at the moment. The Reds, this is a divisional matchup here. They are playing against the Pirates at the moment. They are 3-2. The Pirates and the Reds have split the current series. This is the final game of the series at the moment. So we'll see how that pans out. Obviously, won against Boston 2-1 in that series to open up the season. The Cardinals also 3-2. They're playing against the Mets right now. The Cubs are playing against the Angels at the moment. The Cubs and the Pirates are 2-3. So we'll see how that stands after today. And in the NL West, the Dodgers top of the board. No surprise. They are 4-1. They're playing later today against the Guardians. The Giants are playing against the Padres later today. The Diamondbacks are playing against Detroit. They're hosting Detroit. The Padres are playing home to San Francisco, and the Rockies are playing right now against Toronto and promptly getting their shit kicked in. So, surprise. Not a lot of surprises, though, as far as how the opening week stands at the moment. The Marlins being top of the board, that's explainable with Colorado and Chicago White Sox being back-to-back to open the series. Texas and Houston being top of the board, not a surprise. Again, it's early days, and Seattle can make it up pretty easily. They had a pretty tough start, and they're playing against the Yankees, so that's going to be difficult for the Mariners as well. But they will have their time in the sun against the easier competition.
They really got unlucky going up against the Guardians, and then Chase the Water just decided to be really good, and now he might be injured. I actually have to check up on that. He did put a foul ball off of his left foot last night. Looks like it's just day to day. Pretty good for the Guardians because he hit 4 home runs in his first 3 games, which is very good.
Works out pretty well. So not a lot of surprises, though, in terms of where people are at. The Dodgers being top of the NL West makes sense. The Brewers being top of NL Central makes sense. The Reds being second also makes sense. That's sort of how it was last year. We'll see how things pan out. Again, the East is going to be one of the more competitive divisions, I think, this season. They got the Phillies, the Braves, the Mets, the Nationals, and the Marlins. I think we said pretty well and truly. What was the least competitive division? Was it AL
It's
Central?
probably the AL Central or the NL West.
Oh, that's right. Because
It's
was it's the Dodgers
at the
and no
very
one else.
top. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those two of the worst divisions that we talked about there. And they're kind of going the way we thought they would be. Cleveland is up there. Kansas City's 2 games. I think they had a game rained out.
Kansas City.
I don't know if they did or not. Let me look at the schedule. Un momento, por favor. Yes, Brewers got rained out, I think. Hold on.
How? That's not right because the Brewers have played at home.
Hold on. No, never mind. Well, the Brewers haven't played yet. That's the point. I'm looking at the wrong calendar.
Oh.
I was like, why is it not filled in? Obviously, that's been delayed. No, it's not been delayed because fucking duh. No, they just had a really awkward opening season because they played the Braves and then they played 1 game against the Twins and then they had yesterday off.
Oh, yeah, they have a 3. Okay, yeah, I see.
And then they played.
So they had their first off day yesterday.
Yeah, and then they play the Twins today and tomorrow, and then the Brewers for a 3-game series. They don't have another off day until the 13th.
The Mets don't have it yet. It's an opening day, and a lot of teams are playing the last games of their second series today.
Yeah.
So that's why you see a lot of the midday games. So I think really the Twins and Kansas City are the only ones that don't finish up a series today, if I'm correct.
Yeah, those are the only 2 that are 4 games completed so far. Yep.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to affect too often much.
No.
At least not right now. Obviously, opening week, very early to tell, but very, very quickly we're seeing a couple of trends from last season kind of picking up and continuing. So we'll see how that pans out. Reds are playing against Pittsburgh right now. And we're currently losing 4-3, bottom of the 7th.
Yep. Paul Skeens start, so not very easy from the get-go.
No.
He did give up 1 run, I think. I haven't checked in that game since the Mets started playing.
Matson is now at the mound for Pittsburgh.
He gave up 1 earned run. Mason Montgomery gave up 2 on a home run, it looks like. By O'Neill Cruz hit 2?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Eugenio Suarez, the homer, the game winner from the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
He hit the 2-run homer.
I was looking at the wrong team. Yeah. So, kind of just I mean, that's how you want to do it against the Pirates. Is that their bullpen is not. Their bullpen is definitely their weakness compared to their starting pitching. I mean, 1 run is all you can really ask for against Paul Skeens. The Mets really got lucky last week, knocking him out in the first inning. So, 1 run is really all you can ask for. It doesn't look like he had necessarily had his best stuff again. So,
yeah, so Pittsburgh, so they won 8-3 yesterday. Cincinnati won 2-0 on the 30th. So that's how the series split. And obviously in the 7th at the moment, we will see how all of that shakes up at the moment. Friedel's now at the plate. Matson took over to start the 7th inning for Pittsburgh on the mound. Let me see if it's on TV for me here. Give me one
it's on. Should be on regional. So Pirates regional, Cincinnati.
I don't know if Cincinnati has a regional still. It's all
they
up.
They might, because I have MLB TV.
Let me double check.
They are under MLB TV, but they still have. I think you still have to do the regional kind of subscription. I don't know if it has the blackout.
If I have it, I will have it by default because of how Spectrum operates. Because I think I had stuff last year. I just don't remember. What's the channel number for this stupid stuff? I prefer streaming options to this so much. I don't want to remember channel numbers at all. Let me just turn my brain off and pick from the options. It's probably like the 200s, I think.
Could not tell you.
Yeah, I know. I am left to try to figure this out on my own devices, and it sucks. I do not have. You wanted the regional game that's being played currently on my end?
What?
Rangers Orioles.
That's an odd one.
Why are we watching the Orioles and the Rangers when I have Cincinnati literally right here?
Yeah, that's an odd one. Green will just hit a fly ball to center field. That's pretty easy for O'Neal Cruz if he can catch it, which has been a topic of discussion. At least starting last week with the opening game against the Mets, but that's how it is.
Oh, okay. I realize it and I see now why it's this way. So the way Spectrum operates, you can choose the games you want to watch on MLB TV. So it gives me a
Yeah.
chance to look at all of them. So it defaulted, I guess, to Baltimore because I think that one started first.
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right. So McLean is 0-2, just fouled off another pitch. One of the big talking points yesterday, I think I saw this yesterday, was the ABS system.
It's been really good. I
watched
like it.
one game where there was like 5 back-to-back ABS challenges that were all successful.
Was CB Buckner by any chance the home plate umpire?
Yes, it was Buckner, the home umpire, and he was getting so much shit. It was hilarious to watch because, like,
I don't know if
he would call a strike that was clearly a ball, and the batter would immediately challenge it. And God, it was I think it was a Yankees game. That I don't remember what day. I don't know what game it was, but Buckner was the umpire, and he was getting chirped at by the manager of the batting team, and he's like, "Shut your mouth, let me do my job." And then he got another one wrong right after that, and the batter challenged it and just stepped out of the box and just shook his head. And the manager, I think, said, "Go fuck yourself" or something at the end of the challenge.
The play yesterday, I just saw something that he got actually left the game, that he's umpiring right now in the Brewers because he got hit by a foul ball. But so hopefully it all is right there. But yesterday it was a play at first in the Brewers Tampa Bay game, and he was not looking at the play at first, and I called, who was it that was there? I think it was Jake Bowers, out because Jake Bowers missed a bag. Jake Bowers did not miss the bag. He got all of his foot on the bag, and it was promptly overturned by replay. That was a very goofy one because he was not looking at the play and still decided to call him out.
It's just silly. So we are now on top of the 8th. It was a ground out by Friedel to the second base and a pretty quick out there. So now it'll be Santillan as the pitcher kicking over the 8th, and Cruz as the batter to kick off things for the Pirates. So fun stuff there. Yippee-ki-yay. And then after this, we have a day off tomorrow on Cincinnati side, and then we play the Rangers for a 3-game series in Texas, in Dallas. So, and then we go to Miami for the second series after the bye for the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. Yippee, yippee, yippee-ki-yay. So we are kind of making some headway here. Let's talk NHL real quick, just updating the playoff window. So give me 1 second here. The National Hockey League, where are we at standings wise? We are looking at the Atlantic Division on the Eastern Conference. It's currently the Sabres, the Lightning, and the Montreal Canadiens. Top of the Atlantic, ahead of the Metropolitan, which is the Hurricanes, Penguins, and Islanders, leading the Metropolitan at the moment. Current wild card is the Bruins and the Blue Jackets. They're over Ottawa, Detroit, the Flyers, the Capitals, the Devils, the Maple Leafs, the Panthers, and the Rangers. The Rangers are the only ones eliminated from the playoffs on the Eastern Conference. In the West, the Avalanche and the Dallas Stars, we talked about this last week. They were already punched into the playoffs. That has not changed. Minnesota Wild are third in the West and the Central Division. The Pacific, a little bit more kind of condensed. It is the Ducks, the Oilers, and the Golden Knights. Currently in the top three in the Pacific. The wild card is the Mammoth and the Predators, ahead of the Kings, the Jets, the Sharks, and the Kraken. Only one team out in the West confirmed, and that is the Canucks. Vancouver is out of the playoff running, but they were out of the playoff running last week. So nothing changed there. The gaps are not closing necessarily as much as people would hope they would. The Knights still have 2 games in hand over the Kings over in the Pacific Division. Likewise, Minnesota Wild have not a lot of threat at the moment from the Predators at this point as it stands. They're not locked in yet, but they're not far from it. I think a couple more wins and the Wild will be locked in to the playoffs there. But that is the only way the teams are locked in at the moment. The Avalanche and the Stars in the West have been sort of seal clubbing. So not a lot changes in how that sits. So at the playoffs, if the Stanley Cup playoffs started today, it'd be Colorado versus Nashville, Dallas versus Minnesota, Anaheim versus Utah, and Edmonton versus Vegas on the West. And on the East, it'd be Buffalo versus Boston, Tampa Bay versus Montreal, Carolina versus Columbus, and Pittsburgh versus the Islanders on the East. Pretty simple stuff. And the Stanley Cup playoffs begin, if I'm not mistaken,
Should be end of the month.
I think it's on the 14th or 15th, I think. I could be wrong.
Might be.
So the 14th is the end of the NHL season. So I think it's actually the 19th for the Stanley Cup.
Probably, yeah.
Is what that sounds like. I'm going to double check. Yep. So the regular season ends officially on the 17th, and that's when you'll find the Stanley Cup scheduling. So the Stanley Cup first round does begin on the 19th. Ta-da!
Things are not looking
they're not looking
good in Detroit.
For the Red Wings, are they?
We have been so horrible at building the side to catch on fire in Detroit today. So, yeah, it's not good. I think we've had three straight losses. We lost to Pittsburgh.
Those were games that you notably needed to win.
Yeah. Let me, because we lost to Pittsburgh last night. I didn't watch the game because I was busy winning races.
You're busy not being depressed.
Yeah. We lost to the Penguins and the Flyers. We did win against the Red Wings, not the Sabres on the 27th.
I would love to play a game against myself. How do you do that? No, they beat the Sabres.
Yeah, they beat the Sabres, which is a good win.
That's a needed win, but you lose
against
a
good team, but we're losing against the Penguins and the Flyers and giving up 5 goals. Yeah. Not great. So I don't know what the playoff permutations are. You'd have to win against the Flyers tomorrow.
And the Flyers are also in a must-win situation.
I'd assume the Blue Jackets. Well, you'd have to win against the Blue Jackets. And
the Blue Jackets have the last wildcard spot. You have to.
You have two more games against the Flyers than you have one against the Blue Jackets. Those are definitely must-wins.
Yeah.
And you might need a little help to get there. I don't know.
So yeah, not a whole lot has changed though, although it is kind of securing the sort of where teams are at right now. Like if you were in the top 8 for your for your playoff hopes. You're kind of still there. None of the positions have actually changed yet from last week. In the windows, it seems like the windows are kind of widening at this point. All the points gaps are wider than they were last week. So not good if you're a team outside the playoffs trying to get in, because now the ladder's a little bit taller.
Yep.
NFL football wise, not a lot to cover on the football side of things. I don't cover college a whole bunch. No point in me talking about it at the moment. The draft is at the end of the month. Spring football is here though. The UFL. I was particularly interested in the UFL because they added two. They relocated a couple teams to markets close to where I live. They relocated a team to Columbus for the Aviators, and they relocated a team to Louisville. Both teams lost. So that's my luck in a nutshell. Louisville lost to Birmingham 15-13. The DC Defenders lost to the St. Louis Battlehawks 16-10. The Dallas Renegades beat the brakes off of the Houston Gamblers 36-17. And the Orlando Storm, another new team to UFL, they beat Columbus 23-16 in week 1. So week 2 is coming up this weekend. DC hosts Columbus on Friday. Hopefully Columbus can get its first win. Louisville hosts Orlando on Saturday. And then we got a game on Easter Sunday, Birmingham hosting Houston. And then St. Louis hosts Dallas on Tuesday. The Stallions and the Gamblers on Easter Sunday is on NFL Network. Funny enough. The DC Defenders hosting Columbus is on Fox. Louisville versus Orlando is on ESPN. And St. Louis versus Dallas is on FS1. For those that want to tune in. The games are entertaining. They're obviously not NFL level games, but they're not bad. So I had fun. But with that, I think we have covered everything we needed to cover today. And look at that, less than 2 fucking... We're 5 hours last week. We are now down to 2 hours. This is a way more optimal window. Holy shit.
We're improving.
We are improving. We're still figuring things out. We'll have a lot more to talk about. Obviously, MLB will be a factor again. We will not have a lot of racing to talk about other than NASCAR. I may pay attention to Bristol. No, actually, next week we don't, because it's the O'Reillys and the Truck Series this weekend. Literally, that's it. I have
nothing to watch except for baseball, which I don't mind. I can just watch the Mets lose. Probably so.
So we will. It looks like next week will be soccer heavy and baseball heavy. So bear with us. That being said, unfortunately, we didn't get to hear much from Pressy today. But that sort of just happens when we're trying to do stuff weekly. That being said, we will see you again next week. Again, for those watching on YouTube, join us on Patreon. We got a lot more extra stuff coming up this month. The QR code will help you get there, as well as the link down in the description below. If you're watching this on Patreon, thank you for the support. It's very appreciated. We got more podcasts coming up Beyond the Driver's Seat with Emily Howe. Next week comes out. We got races coming up, ABN Champ Car. The broadcast will come out on Saturday. That race is happening actually tonight at 8:30. And a lot more extra stuff from there. So I think we're going to say sayonara this week for the ABN Sports Report. We're going to watch some more baseball here. The Reds and the Pirates are at the bottom of the 8th. At the moment, still 4-3 because the Pirates could not get anyone on base at the top of the 8th. And you said the Mets are... What's the Mets looking like right now? It's first?
0-0 scoreless. The Mets do not have a hit, and the Cardinals have 1 hit. So average Mets game.
But yeah, we're going to watch some baseball. We got some racing going on tonight on the iRacing side of things. And we will see you again next week. Bye.